What's up, motivators? Taren here, back with
NTK.
No Triathlon Kim, who, if you haven't been around for ages and ages, she used to be the co-host in the podcast. Well, we are bringing her back not just to be the co-host, but to be the actual host of today's podcast. Yeah, it's with Kevin and Lauren, second time on the podcast. They are Motive Movers, and they are best known as Our Triathlon Journey, who have been blowing up on the Instagram and the TikTok. What'd you talk about?
All kinds of stuff. A lot of how they have overcome some of the challenges that they've had in triathlon, and that they too, despite how confident they look, and both being military folks, so you kind of think of them as like super strong physically and mentally, that, you know, they had the same challenges that everybody else does, and how they got through them and some of the strategies they employed to be able to work triathlon into their very busy lives.
Some of the best attitudes in the sport. So if you want a couple of chuckles and some good motivation, definitely go follow them. We're really honored that Kevin and Lauren would be part of the Motive Movers. They're excellent ambassadors for the sport. And as always, if you are listening to this and you'd want to watch the conversation, you can check it out on the Taren's Motive Method YouTube channel. If you're watching this and you just want to listen, go over to the Taren's Motive Method podcast. Thanks for everything you do with us, Kevin and Lauren, and for the sport. And I think everyone's really going to enjoy this conversation with one of the most popular aspects of the the show, NTK. Yeah, the amount of messages that I've got in the last couple of years of like, I miss NTK's voice. You had enough of you. Fair enough. Here's a little treat for all of you. My name is Taren Gazelle. In my 20s, I was overweight, unfulfilled, and couldn't even run to the end of the block. Over the following years, I found endurance sports, lost 65 pounds, won age groups, raced world championships, broke records, and trained and learned from some of the best athletes and coaches in the world. You too can use endurance sports to change your life and accomplish your fitness goals. You just need a system that's meant for us amateurs who want to be our best while feeling our strongest and healthiest. My company Motive offers that system, and I want to share some of the tips from it today.
Kevin and Lauren, so good to see you guys. And obviously you're seeing me and not Taren, because we're doing things a little differently today. How you guys doing?
Great.
Yeah.
You're always doing great.
We are. It's because we hang out and we have a good time.
Yeah.
So obviously you've joined us on the podcast before. If people have heard your episode, we did some time back. But for the folks who haven't, why don't we just do like a super quick, too long didn't read recap kind of thing about who the two of you are and what your story is in endurance sports.
Okay, so I'm Kevin. That's Lauren.
And I'm Lauren, yes.
We met on deployment. We're both in the military. I'm a Marine and she's in the Navy. We met on deployment and kind of started our fitness journey there together. We just, have a lot of downtime while you're on ship, and we talked about a lot of things. And one of those things was triathlon. Lauren used to do triathlon a long time ago, but never not like in a serious way. And she was telling me about it. I'm like, that sounds awesome. What a challenge. That sounds like a great idea. And then we just kind of continued that journey together. And then first triathlon season was COVID year, where everything was canceled. And we didn't let that get in our ways. We kind of made our own makeshift triathlons throughout every race that we signed up for that day the race would have been. We kind of just did it on our own. Yeah. We got kicked out of a couple lakes trying to do some swims.
We did.
We had to wait on red lights doing our bike.
We did.
And it all crescendoed to a half Ironman at the end of the year that our friends put on for us, a full-on gig where we had body markings, we had bibs, the whole nine. And then we just kind of started the Instagram page as a way to, capture all the stuff that we've been doing together. And that's kind of where we are now. We're just kind of just riding this wave of fun and excitement, getting out there and just moving.
So she wanted the short version. We are two people that love to do triathlon and share our triathlon, things that we've learned, things that we've accomplished over the last couple of years together. And that's where we are now, is just, fitness for regular people.
Well, one of the things I like about you two is that you're two best friends. And I think I'm assuming everybody assumes you're married, right? Everyone just thinks, oh, these two are a couple, but you're just BFFs.
Happens a lot. Yeah.
You each have your own separate families.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Now, I said this to Taren. I said your spouses are actually like snuffleupagus because we never see them. We never. How do they come into? How do the families come into play for the two of you? Because obviously you have busy jobs. We see that you train all the time. You guys are very dedicated to your training, but you do have families. So, I mean, talk a little bit about how the two of you fit that all in.
There's been a lot. I mean, one, they're very supportive.
Yes.
Of the goals. There have been times where it's just like, again, another workout, which is understandable because you go straight from work, you come home, and then we're going to the pool in an hour. But when it's more so the bigger idea that they really support of us getting out there and accomplishing these goals that we've got for ourselves, our personal goals.
Yeah. I feel like and with my family, I've got young kids, so I know that you had Ashley on last week, and I love listening to her, kind of explain like the balance between training and family it's very, very difficult to be good at everything. You know what I mean? And so that's one of the things, like sometimes you do make sacrifices, you miss a family event because you got a long bike ride or something, and it does happen. But I do feel like we have very supportive spouses that are, and they're both named Ashley, which is also really funny.
Yeah.
Wait, both of your spouses are each named Ashley.
Yeah. So we just call them the Ashleys.
How do you? Oh my goodness, not confusing, right?
No, not at all.
No.
But what are some of the things that you do have to do to balance that all? Because I think that there's a lot of people out there who think, okay, I would like to do a triathlon. It sounds like fun. I'd love the challenge, but whoa, I'm too busy. Like I'm a mom or I'm a dad and I've got all these responsibilities. There's no way that I could fit it in. How do you two find ways to fit it in?
Honestly, you have to get creative. We're very fortunate we live in Virginia Beach and here in Virginia, and the Parks and Rec is amazing here. And I take my kids, I bring them to the daycare for an hour and a half while I'll go swim laps or go to the gym. And that's like one way. And they also kind of feel included. They're like so excited to like be a part of, mom's workout. Like that's one, that's one creative thing. And also just kind of, we leverage our families to help us do that. Hey, come out, bring us, bring support, right? Like, give us water at this point of the
Trying
ride.
as best we can to get them involved. I'm lucky. I've got teenagers that they're at the age of.
They don't want anything to do with dad.
I could care less what you're doing, Dad. I could care less. Leave me alone. Is there pizza tonight? Good. Like, don't talk to me about it.
Yeah.
But I think we've done well with managing just kind of expectations, like just telling them like, hey, this is my schedule.
Yeah.
And then when we're not doing that stuff, you got to be home to do other stuff with family. But it is, I'm not going to lie. There is stressful times, especially when you're really peaking on the workouts, when you're maybe a month out and stuff is really hot and heavy. There are some stressful times. That's just kind of the nature of it. But
I like one thing you said about the communication piece. I think that's extremely important. Like just even giving them access to the training calendar. So, and you kind of build like a bit of a static way of like, hey, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going for a swim. On Sundays, we're going for a long bike ride. And those are kind of like things that are normally like it becomes routine. So therefore it's not really impactful to the day-to-day life. You kind of plan around it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I like that idea of making sure that schedule is open, right? Because I think a lot of people do these things in a vacuum, and you've got your app with your or whatever way you train, you've got your app with your training in it, and you've got it right there, but no one else can see it. And so if you don't happen to mention to your spouse, oh, tomorrow, or your spouse, partner, whatever you've got going on, even if it's like your parents, you still live with your parents and they need to know where you're at, whatever it is, that if it's not just in the app and everybody has a sense like, oh, for sure you're gone tomorrow morning because you got an early bike ride. Great. Like that I feel like that would make it easier for everybody.
Oh, it does. It takes a lot of the stress off because then it's not like, you're not just dropping like the bomb. Like, hey, I'm going to be gone for 5 hours today. I know you had like plans and errands and stuff you wanted to run, but I'm just going to go on a 5-hour bike ride. Yeah. Which is just so fun to ignore plans and errands when you just go on a 5-hour bike ride.
And maybe doing workouts earlier, I found getting them out of the way, like while everyone's still asleep, that usually goes a long way too, because it doesn't impact them at all, and they've got the day with you.
Well, that's an interesting point. I think it's hard to have to wake up super early to get a workout in, but there's your sacrifice. If you want to balance the family time with the performance, then you've got to make some sacrifices and you're the one choosing to do it. Right. So that's kind of the route you have to go. I'm curious about the two of you as far as how do you balance your desire for good performance versus I can't put it all in because I do have family to worry about.
Well, for us, it's more so I'm competing against me. Just because of the nature of it, I'm not going to place. I'm not going to win the race. Like, that's just, it is what it is. It's not in the cards for me.
I might.
You might. You have.
Oh, yeah.
But it's more so I'm here, me versus me. And at the end of the race, at the end of the training, at the end of this workout, as long as I put the effort that I felt was needed from me, then I'm okay with it. I'm not ashamed of any of the results. I mean, sometimes I feel like maybe could have pushed a little harder, but at the end of the day, like, I'm just out here trying to move, and stay active and not feel 37. That's really the main goal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what that's like.
I don't know what that's like because I'm a young spring chicken.
Well, and you look it.
So
there's a really great photo that we have of the two of you when you completed your Ironman. Remind me which race it was.
It was Augusta.
Augusta. And the two of you kind of holding hands over the finish line. Obviously, I mean, you're different sizes, you're different genders. It's to train together and even race together. Is one of you pushing harder or one of you holding back? How do you balance that together?
I would say that we've definitely had races where, like, I'm a weaker swimmer than Kevin, and he'll hang back and he'll swim with me. There was one time I kept apologizing to him. I kept bumping into a person and I kept saying sorry, and it was him the whole time, just like swimming underneath me and swimming around me, and I didn't know because I didn't have my glasses on.
Backstroking. It was yeah.
But what's interesting about Kevin and I is he's a faster swimmer and a faster cyclist than I am, but I will always catch him on the run, especially on the longer distances. So what generally happens is we go out together. He's always out of transition before I even, like, I come out from the swim, he's gone, and our bikes are always parked next to each other, obviously. Avi. And and he's always gone, and it's fine. And I know he's miles ahead of me on the bike, but I have like this like nice comfort because I'm like, I'm gonna catch him. I will catch him on the run, no matter what happens. I'm gonna catch him on the run, and generally, like, it happens around usually between miles 8 and 11, somewhere in there. So it takes time. But it's so great because then I finally do catch him, and it's like, we're doing this together. Like, the hardest part, which is like finishing, we
finish together. And by about that time, I'm kind of hitting the wall. Yeah. And she comes in all Sprite and like, come on, let's go. And then we pick up the pace from there so I can stay with her. And then we finish together. That and we have to finish together for the picture.
It's all about the picture.
Well, sure.
We are a brand.
Well, no, but I love the way it works out. I love the way it works out.
It really does. And I think you hear so much about that big piece of advice, right? Like, what's one thing that you can really do to make sure that you're training well or whatever? And it's always like, find a training partner so you can't skip out workouts. You're going to push yourself a little harder if somebody's there with you. But then there is that balancing act because your training partners may not be at the same fitness level, speed, et cetera, as you. So I think that's really cool that you naturally have found a way for that to work out so that you can finish together, for example, in races.
Of course. And even when we first started training, like, even like cycling, he just has a natural knack for it. He's just like naturally fast. He's got these big, tree trunk legs and just goes and goes and goes. I think we were like 2 miles into our first bike ride together, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep up with you.
Yeah, she's like, you're not even breathing heavy.
Like, and I'm like, gasping for air at the red light. And it's interesting because when you work out with somebody who is a different level, you tend to rise to that level as well. So, and it's also indicative of how we began. Like, he was this big, guy lifting heavy weights in the gym, and I was just a string bean, just running on the treadmill every day because I was afraid to work out and I didn't know anything about lifting weights. And I didn't want to be a bother. Like, I didn't want to be in the way when he's like trying to do deadlifts and compound exercises that I wasn't familiar with. And he was just like, do you want to work out or not? Like, and then I rise to that level because he gave me the confidence to do that. So I definitely always, one of the biggest pieces of advice is if you can find somebody who is somebody maybe you even aspire to be or somebody you want to learn from, like, try to get a training partner just for the accountability piece alone is invaluable.
Because you can talk yourself out of a workout real easy.
Oh, so easy.
I know it. I'm no triathlon Kim. I know it. Yeah. I talked myself out of every workout.
Getting it, girl. We've been watching. You've been getting it, girl.
But no, I think that's a good point to make too, though, is that your training partner doesn't have to be matched to you in a athletic way. I mean, you can still find ways to work together. And then, like you said, maybe that person is bringing you up. On the flip side of it, we talk so much about not overdoing it, not, the grind culture that we're trying so hard to escape. you can pull someone back too and say, hey man, like we got to stay in zone 2 today. That's the point. And you don't have to feel guilty when someone else is encouraging you. Oh, I saw a face there, Lauren.
I do that quite a bit. Yeah. She does that quite a bit with me with the runs, but even for like the bike. So I'm way faster than Lauren.
Way faster.
And we searched on Google Maps around us and we found a street that was a neighborhood. It was a circle. It was completely a circle. So we would do like our interval workouts for the bike. We would just do it on the circle. And so we never left each other.
Yeah.
We're still out on the bikes. We're still we're doing the exact same workout at our own levels.
Yeah.
And my whole entire goal was to not get lapped by Kevin on the circle. And I only think you lapped me like maybe twice. And I'm still upset about it.
It took an hour.
Like it took an hour, but I mean, he caught me. But like, that's another creative way, especially when you're working out with somebody who's a different ability level. You use your environment, figure out what works to make you guys show up at the same time, keep it going, and do the accountability piece.
There's also been times where we just weren't able to work out together that day.
Yeah.
Our schedules didn't work out. But there was always a phone call of like, hey, you worked out this morning. How did it go? All right. Yeah, great. Yeah. I'm working out this afternoon.
Yeah.
And then, call that person afterwards. Yeah. This is how it went. Like, yeah, that was a rough interval. Yeah. That was a good workout.
Yeah. We do that a lot.
How do your work schedules come into play now? Do you still work erratic? Maybe erratic's not the right word, but do you still work tricky schedules for training? And then also, like you mentioned, being on a boat, right? It's
well, you're not on the ship anymore.
Well, I'm not on the ship anymore.
Okay.
I work a desk job and I have pretty standard hours at this point. So it's actually really nice because I kind of can, flex my schedule as needed. So I've been we haven't been lifting together because I've been lifting in the morning and he's been going in the afternoon when he gets off work because it just is what's working better for the schedules. And we're very easy at these days to just be like, well, maybe we don't have to go. Let's go golfing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing of coming off of an erratic schedule, which I almost felt like I was more dedicated when I had a crazy schedule because I had to be so precise with when I could do things.
Yep.
And now because I have the freedom of time, I'm like, oh, I mean, I'll just do it later. And then later comes and I'm like,
it's so easy to blow it off, right?
Yep.
Oh no.
Hey, did you do that workout?
And then it's hey, did you do that workout? How was it? And I'm like, oh, yeah.
That's, that is so interesting. I think people assume a busy schedule means it's going to be harder, but I had not thought of it that way, that you're forced then to really slot it in and abide by where you've put it in, or else you just aren't going to have the time.
There's nothing less motivating than having enough time.
It's so interesting. And I'm telling you, like, I wouldn't have expected that. I was kind of expecting when I came, because, I was working, between 12 and 14-hour days regularly. And for somehow, some way, I managed to get all my workouts in, and I was very, very rarely missing a workout. But now like I said, I'm working a very nice, comfortable schedule, and I miss more workouts these days than I ever have before. It's interesting, the balance of it.
But Kevin, you still are on the ship.
I am actually. I'm back on a ship now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my schedule has never been more open in my life.
We can't go into this.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. I have the job that I have on ship is not really needed right now because the ship is getting work done to it. But he
lives a very, very comfortable life.
I'm basically retired.
Basically retired. I'm on a ship that's docked and it doesn't go anywhere.
I'm basically retired.
Yeah.
But so when you're on the ship, though, it has to be challenging because it's clearly you don't have roads. It's not like you can't just jump off the boat and go for a swim in the ocean. Yeah. And then that's got to be harder.
I mean, there is no way to swim on the ship, obviously. The ships do shockingly have a very good gym. Mm-hmm. They've got bikes in there, and it's not like a Planet Fitness bike. It's like an aero position bike. Like you can actually get into it. And then obviously you can run, you can do intervals on the treadmills and stuff like that. But you got to just do exercises geared specifically towards, swimming actions. But nothing replaces getting in the water, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
You got to swim.
One of the things that we're talking a lot about these days, because we've realized that this is a huge barrier for so many people, is doubts about the ability to do this. And it's especially for people who have not done a race. And I would include myself in that group. The idea of thinking about being able to complete a race, like,
how could I? I couldn't. I mean, I know you can, but I couldn't, right? I think that's how a lot of people feel. But surely it seems like the more people we talk to, it's like every single person has had that doubt at some point. You're both nodding. So pick it up from there. Talk about the doubts that you had before starting, doubts that you have now.
So there's the doubts, obviously, but then when you show up to a race, you finally commit and you show up, and then you realize that there are people that are obviously in better shape than you, and there are people that are in worse shape than you. We've seen people on triathlons, when they go to the run, they've got walking sticks.
Yeah.
They literally have walking sticks. They have no plans on running.
Right.
But they're still out there, and they're getting the same medal as you. They're accomplishing their goal, and that's no reason to hold you back. It's just signing up and then showing up. Even if you how many people we've seen walk 5Ks?
So many. You know what I mean? I love that, and
I think it's great.
I think what's interesting about the self-doubt piece is that it's even, I think it's even deeper than you always have doubts. You wake up that morning and you're like, oh, well, I don't feel great, or maybe I'm not as ready as I thought I would be. And so then you start getting in your head about it. But really I think the grind, you mentioned it earlier, which is like this kind of grind of like relentless excellence and perfection in all areas of your life. And it's not
about that.
And it's just not possible. But that's what we've said that it needs to be. You have to make every single workout, or you're not good enough, or you have to be the best parent, the best spouse, the best this, the best that. And when
especially in America, that's
that's very, very much the culture. But when you fail, when you have a failure, and then you fail in each of those different areas in a different way, then you're just overall start feeling like a failure. And so then you have to climb back out of that. And so all those things kind of layer onto your doubt. But what you have to realize is that, I'm very big on celebrating like the little victories, like little victory being like, I showed up at the gym and maybe I didn't do my workout the way that it was supposed to be done, but I showed up and I did what I could do that day. Like, that is still a victory. Yeah. And I think building that mindset into your training and building that mindset into your racing. So maybe you didn't hit the time goal that you set for yourself, but you know what you did? You finished it. Like you just executed 3 different disciplines in a way that your body was, was supporting you and capable of doing. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Let yourself be a person.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection.
Be proud.
Just be proud of any accomplishment that you do.
Oh yeah. Well, you're out there when half of everybody else is sitting on the couch, right? So just getting off. I think for me, I think about the fact that something that holds me back, and it's such a silly thing, but like being the last person out of the water, like that would be, they're waiting behind you to pull up the buoys. And have you really see that? I don't know why.
I have been that person.
I don't know why that scares me, but for me, that is like a huge fear.
But it's a completely valid fear, It's.
But what does it matter?
Right? The last person. That's the real question, and that's a maturity that
because it only matters to you.
Yeah. That's a maturity.
No one else. Yeah. Everyone else thinks it's amazing that you're out there doing this.
It comes with time. I've been the last person out of the water. I've been the person on a bike while they're picking up the cones, cleaning up the race behind me. Like that's where amazing. I started triathlon. Yeah. It's just, and the whole time I was just saying really nasty stuff to myself and talking mean to myself about like, why are you doing this? You're not good enough. But then I realized I get to the end, I'm like, I just biked 26 miles on a Fuji hybrid mountain bike. Yeah. I'm amazing. That was so hard. In hilly Columbia, Maryland, no less. Like, you just did that. Who cares if you were dead last? Like, yeah. I was first place for me. You know what I'm saying? So getting over that fear is a completely, it's doable, but it's an absolutely valid fear because you're always just like, oh, everybody's going to care. The beauty thing is that nobody cares. Right. Everybody's just excited that you're doing it.
The last triathlon we did, they had actually good food. So we hung out.
Oh, super good food.
And we sat there for an hour after we were done and just cheering people on as they were coming in, people that were walking. There was one guy, it was a father and son. His son was like 8 years old.
Oh, he was upset, that little boy.
He had a rough day. But it was still awesome to see all these people of all different fitness levels just coming through, and just the smiles and the joy on their faces was awesome. Like they accomplished a goal that they didn't think that they could do, and they were absolutely capable of doing it.
Well, the cool thing is, I'm sure maybe you've seen our Kona videos from past years, and anybody who's been to Kona, who's been to the finish line party at the very end of the night, the 17-hour cutoff, the person getting the biggest cheer of the day is the last person rolling in, right? And people are losing it and crying and like, why am I scared about being the last person? You're still doing it, but yet, well, heck, actually, one of our motive athletes, Cindy Horner, she was the last athlete who came in a couple of weeks back at the it was a full Ironman race that she did, and Mike Riley called her in, right? She was the last one off the course, and you are an Ironman from Mike Riley. Awesome. Like, if she had finished 6 hours sooner, it actually less exciting, maybe, right? It was so cool. And the look on her face was just pure elation. So awesome that she had made that accomplishment. So I sort of feel like, and even for myself, who knows if I'll ever do one of these things. There's a lot behind why I haven't, but just that idea of, okay, well, if I was last, actually that doesn't matter, which is a hard thing. It is a hard thing.
It's all maturity based. It's like, the part of like listening to your body and like doing, taking a rest day when you need a rest day. I think he and I, we both come from the military culture of like, it's grind. Like there are no rest days. You work out every day, every single day you're out there doing it. You're, you know what I mean? And that's your life. That's your passion. But at the same time, you're like, wait a minute, that's dumb, because like now I'm injured and now I can't work out. So like learning as you get older, you start listening to your body a little bit more and kind of like respecting the process of getting better at something. Yeah. And sometimes that includes a zone 2 run where you're not running like full steam ahead as hard as you can every single workout. Like it's something that just happens over time. And once you really start to see the results, and again, those results not being like immediate is a really hard problem for a lot of people too.
And the results aren't necessarily your pace or your time either.
The
results can be, the way you feel afterwards, the endorphins and everything that they get flushed into you. That goal could be, hey, today, instead of doing a 2-minute run and a 1-minute walk, I did a 3-minute run and a 1-minute walk. Like there's goals in every single workout. And it's not necessarily pace driven or time.
Yeah.
The fact that you finished today's workout, maybe you've done this workout 100 times and today was excessively hot and you still got it done. Mm-hmm. That's a goal. Like there's so many ways to find,
the little victories.
Yeah, a victory in it. It's not always about the time or how fast you ran or who you beat or if you were the last one. Like that's not what it's about. It's about you being able to hold your head up high and say, I did this.
Lauren,
awesome.
you mentioned, obviously, if you were going into races where they were picking up the cones behind you, what kind of doubts did you have going into those? Because you would have been able to predict sort of that outcome to some degree, right? Like you have a sense of how it's going to go before you go into it. Did you have doubts before? Like, I just don't think I'm going to be able to do this at all?
Yeah.
That was before you took it really seriously.
I mean, it really was before. I definitely agree with Kevin. Like before I really started taking it seriously, at that point I was kind of I just want to see if I'm capable. Like at that point I had run my first half marathon. And so I felt like I was on top of the world. Like I felt like I could do no wrong. I'm like, I can do anything. I ran a half marathon. I'm amazing. And so a friend of mine was like, hey, let's do this triathlon. I was like, yeah. And I didn't train. I didn't swim. I didn't practice swimming. I barely practiced riding my bike because, I had this problem where if I wasn't amazing at something, I just was like, I'm not going to do it. And that's another maturity that's come in life and learning that you have to like practice at things if you want to get better at them, and that's kind of, if you watch our Instagram page, a lot of our stuff is kind of related to that exact mindset of like, hey, you're not going to be perfect at it, but you just got to try, and that's good. Yeah. But I definitely had doubts going. I thought I was like, there's no way I'm going to finish this. Even when the guys, I could hear them talking like in the car. They had like the windows down. And I was like, I'm going to get.
You mean the guys behind you picking up the cones?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right behind me. I'm talking like I'm in my mountain bike. I'm going 7 miles an hour probably. And they're just like grabbing the cones one at a time. And they're just like, yeah, we're going to like Nick tomorrow. We're going to go to a barbecue. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to get swept. But even if I got swept, I'm like, I would have still been happy because I never swam before, swam like in a race before. And I did that. So I'm like, it's going to be okay. Yeah. But inside I was like, it was just a lot of inner turmoil. Well, but then I learned once you start taking it seriously, like getting a bike computer and like actually doing workouts prior to going into a race really helped.
actually preparing.
Preparing for a race really, really helps.
I need to take a minute to thank a sponsor, which is UCAN. Now, UCAN is an excellent blood sugar stable source of carbohydrates. They have what's called super starch, which functions like a carbohydrate, but it doesn't shoot your blood glucose through the roof, causing a crash after. Yes, this is very good for training, but it's also good for day-to-day nutrition. I really like taking the UCAN bars, the UCAN granola as a food source that gives me a good amount of carbohydrates and energy while not shooting my blood glucose through the roof, causing a hunger and energy crash later in the day. And then particularly after a workout, I like the UCAN Energy Plus Plant Protein, which is a good way to, again, get the carbohydrates in, start recovering, but also gives you a really nice source of protein. You can go to ucan.co/Taren. And if you purchase anything after going through that link, you will get a discount that's applied at checkout. Again, that is ucan.co/Taren, and purchase anything to get a 20% discount. Thanks, UCAN.
So both of you then, Kevin, you mentioned that point, just the military culture. Well, you both did the military culture of like, go, go, go. So then with those expectations going into this, was it like, did you just think, oh, well, I can do this. I can do my job, I should be able to do this exercise stuff, or does that not?
There was a little
There's always that.
like little machismo about it. Like, yeah, I could do that, sure. But at the inside, like, it was terrifying. Like, I have to, like, I broke it down one day. Like, okay, so you have to go swim. All right.
Yeah.
That's like a full body workout.
It is,
There's nothing more forgiving or less forgiving than water. Okay. And then you're going to get on a bike and you're going to go how far?
Yeah.
That's a ways, but I just swam. Yeah, I know. But, and then we're not done. And then you're going to run. Wait, after all this, like, is it the next day?
No.
Like, no. And then like that really like hit me, like, oh my gosh, like, can I actually do this? So even being like in the shape that I was in and being able to do all these things with the military, like, it was still a little bit of a daunting task. Like, can I do this? Yes, I can.
You did.
Because I decided to. And it really, once that decision was made, it really wasn't that big a deal. But I do think that the background of the discipline of the military definitely helped me kind of switch into this other mode of staying on track. Make sure you're bringing nutrition.
I know what you want to say. You want to say the FU spirit?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that.
You can't say that
I'm not
here.
going to say
Well,
that.
you kind of did. we get.
Well, I mean,
we get
but
the
it's
point.
not. I didn't say it. Say it. No,
I got you.
But there's that bit of just like there has to be like the mental aspect of this type of sport or even just being an athlete in general is we haven't nurtured that. I think in a lot of cultures it's just like you have to just do it. You have to be physically ready, but like that mental piece of like you have to talk yourself into it sometimes. Just like you can talk yourself out of workout, sometimes you got to talk yourself into it. Yeah. Like actually psych yourself up.
Saying
like
no to that voice.
Having that good like self-talk piece of like I can do this. Like I signed up. I've trained. I've done everything I can do up to this point, and now I'm just going to get out there and do it. Like I have to.
So has this changed either of you, what you've accomplished over the last couple of years? I mean, like you said, you started during COVID, so it was all self-supported stuff, which is, I mean, you want to take the motivation of a race is huge in and of itself. So you took that away, but you did the races anyway. And then you got to go to a real race, which I'm sure just blew your minds after kind of training solo for a while. But so first I do kind of want to hear about that, but how has this changed you? Because like I'm hearing that you already had that confidence as people because of your careers and the type of fitness that you'd have to carry to do the jobs that you do. But how has this changed you?
Oh,
I think it's more just, it's another point of me allowing myself to not put myself in this box anymore. Because everybody thinks they have a limit. And in reality, like your limit is, you think it's this, but it's really that, right? That's really what it is.
Yeah.
And you'll talk yourself into, I can't do this. Well, and then you do it, and then, all right, maybe I can do this, and maybe I can do this. I think it moved that metric a little bit further down the road of like, yeah, I can do that.
Well, and I also think it for me, it really just built confidence, especially like my previous experience with triathlon before Kevin and I started training together. Like I was like, this is a horrible idea. I'm like, this is the worst idea I ever had. Like I'd never had fun at a triathlon before. And I was like, I told myself I was never going to do that again, even though I did it. Cause I was like, I already checked that box, man. I'm good. But then once I realized like, no, I actually have the ability to do this well. And just because I wasn't able to do it well right off the jump, my first race, my seventh race is the time that I finally kind of started to figure it out. But the confidence that I built, like, and I wasn't finishing first. I wasn't winning the race, but like, I felt great the entire time I was doing it. And that to me was like the most amazing thing in the world. That I'm like, I just came out of the water. I just swam 1,200 meters.
I still feel good.
And I feel good.
Yeah.
Who is this person? And then I'm like, you know, I don't know a better way to say it, but like falling in love with myself. Like, oh my God, you're amazing. You know, like, you're amazing. And then you get on the bike, and then you get off the bike and you feel okay. Like, oh my God, I can do this run. Yeah. It's the confidence that it gives you is just.
Yeah, race day becomes by far the most fun day.
Oh my God.
Out of the training.
The whole day is just incredible.
Yeah.
Like
I'm controlling my pace.
Yeah.
If I need to pull back, then I can pull back. If I need to speed up, then I can speed up. Like, but race day has always been the most fun day. Like, I don't have this checklist of these metrics that I have to hit. No. Like, race day is always fun.
Your body just does what your body does.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a good surprise. Sometimes it's a bad surprise.
It just doesn't go well, but yeah,
But you can't put a price on that confidence that it gives you. And I think that once you start anything, and it doesn't have to necessarily even be triathlon, but when you make a commitment to something and then you actually see yourself to the end of whatever that is,
it's a great feeling.
Like, you know, that's kind of where we're at. We're trying to feel like, what's our next goal? Like, yeah, we have a race coming up in July. That's awesome. But like, what's our next goal? Because I'm very goal driven. If I don't have like a thing I'm working towards, I'm just kind of like,
just kind of coasting,
you know, floating about.
Yeah, I'll go work out, and I still go for walks, and I like being outside. I'm an active person in general, but like I'm very goal driven, and I think a lot of people are, and they just don't know how to set that goal. Like, they don't believe in themselves enough to say, like, I can do that 5K at the end of next month if I just get up and I go, you know, do a walk run every couple days, or whatever plan I choose to follow. So.
And there's also the option, if you lack the confidence, you can sign up for a virtual race.
Oh, it's the best.
And just do it on your own.
Yeah.
And you'll win.
Had conversations with some people about that during COVID, and that they loved it because the idea of race day is actually very intimidating, because if you've never been to one, you don't realize that it's all shapes, sizes, ages, faces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a wow.
$10,000 bikes just rolling by you, and you're like, oh my God.
I mean, there is some of that, and that can be intimidating. I know when we were at Challenge Roth, they take it pretty seriously in Germany, right? And so you go into transition, and it was just like, whoa. But at a lot more of the North American races, and don't get me wrong, there were lots of people of different athletic abilities at Roth, but I feel like the North American races, there's a much bigger range. And something like Challenge Daytona, for example, like that was across the board. There was everything. Oh, that was.
I want to race. I want to do that race so bad. Like, that's like next year bucket list.
Yeah.
Challenge Daytona.
Well,
we're coming for you.
And in fact, the race video that we did of that race, because Taren raced it, and again, that was right before COVID started, about 2 months before COVID started. He came into transition off the bike and onto the run, and there was a lady who was just getting ready to go on the bike. And she was literally right beside him, and he kind of gave her some encouragement. And I thought, you know, that's what's so cool about this. And I loved that moment for both of them, because a lot of people wouldn't even think of that. They wouldn't think to say to that person, because I think she made a comment like, you're finishing the bike and I haven't even started yet. And he was like, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. I can't remember what he said to her, but just a couple little nice words, and they had a nice moment, and then he went off and she went off. But that so many people are so focused that they wouldn't have had that moment to just share with somebody. But like, isn't that the cool part about doing this, that you're all ultimately doing the same thing? And sure, he was, you know, the fittest of his life at that point, and who knows, maybe that was her first ever race. We have no idea, but just really neat that they were both doing that, and that opportunity to experience those things. I hope people, you know, take that chance and don't judge other people for how they look, and don't make those judgments. Just like, hey, we're all doing this. Feels crappy for all of us.
But it's the best feeling in a race too. Like, and I always feel like I always end up linking up with somebody, like whether it's on the run or on the bike, and just kind of like that nice, like back and forth of, you know, oh my God, we can do this. And I ran with this lady, and I mean, I could tell she was like holding back to run with me a little bit. Oh. And then she just took off, and I was like, man, one day,
that'll be
one day I'll be like that. I mean, she was probably in her mid 50s, and she was just cruising right along. She ran next to me, talked to me for about a good 20 minutes. And then she just took off like a bullet. And I hold on to those moments too, of like, that encouragement that you get, that kind of feeling of,
because that random stranger did not need to hold back for you.
No,
Like,
but she did. And then she went, I mean, I'm sure she won. In my mind, she won.
She won something.
She won something. She won her age group that day for sure.
Well, that race.
I love that story though. It's great.
Yeah.
For giving that encouragement.
And not, not to pump my husband's tires or whatever and just like, oh, he's so great because he did that. But I feel like you can be so focused. And I feel like I would just be so worried about every last little thing that maybe I wouldn't notice the person next to me. I'm not saying that, everybody has to be able to do that, but it's just like, it's cool if you can take that opportunity, or if there's somebody along the way that needs a pat on the back or needs some encouragement or something that opportunity is there. As far as doing the first race after COVID, like the first race that actually happened, Kevin, you said that was like tremendous.
Oh, it was so cool. Like, the packet pickup, you're placing your bike in transition, just the vibe and the feel of everything, kind of just like checking out the race course. It was so much fun. And then, coming across finish line with the announcer, it was great. But there is a special part of me that really enjoyed, the one that our friends put on.
Oh yeah.
It was interesting because that one it was just us.
Yeah.
We were the only two athletes, and everyone was there for us. It wasn't just random strangers, my family, my friends over there. But the actual race day was awesome. Then you get food afterwards.
Yeah, there's food.
Yeah, that's really a reason I would consider racing is really the fact that you probably have earned, I don't know, 10,000 extra calories.
So many calories. Yeah. And then you just eat, and it's so great.
It's one of the most expensive pieces of pizza I've ever had.
Well, and I think for him, like, I was really surprised because, like, he walked into the race and like he wasn't intimidated at all. And I think that maybe inside he was maybe like, he's kind of like a duck on the water. That's kind of how Kevin is. Like, he's very like stoic, you know. But in the feet are just moving 1,000 miles. And then, and I'm sure there was a little bit of that, but like just the excitement of it and getting past the intimidation factor, because I was just watching him like peep everybody else's bikes and just kind of like, oh, okay, like maybe I'm not gonna, I could definitely smoke. I could smoke that guy. Yeah. Like I'm watching his like mind, like just go. But I agree with him. Like it's like a different kind of good. Like that race environment is so motivating.
Yes.
But I think for some people, as motivating as it is, it's also equally as intimidating. So there's a balance there. I mean, but some people just going to the gym, is intimidating, and they feel that just walking in there because, people are very, they get worried. They think that everybody's looking at them, and it's hard to understand, or it's hard to believe that, like, the truth is, like, these people care about themselves. They're out here to, just like you said, like that focus, that drive, and just trying to like get past that feeling of intimidation is very, very challenging. And, until you
it's a valid thought too.
Oh, it's totally
it's a valid feeling. It really is.
It's 100% valid. And until you put yourself in the position to actually like walk out there and set up your stuff in transition and show up on race day in your flyest looking kit, you know what I mean? Like
your sweet motive gear.
Your sweet motive gear. Like you're not gonna you're not gonna know or really get the opportunity to believe in yourself if you don't push yourself into that situation. And it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. It's not an easy thing to ask of anybody.
No.
Because sometimes you can just walk into the gym. Going into the gym can be such an intimidating and stressful thing. It used to be for me.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I built my own confidence and learned what I could do and learned my ability level that I can walk in there confidently.
You didn't want to work out with me.
I was terrified.
And the reality of it is, like, do you want to work out or not?
And it's that simple.
Yeah. Okay, then let's work out.
But I mean, it took,
even with that,
it took years to
even
break.
Us being friends. Yeah, it took a while for you.
It took years to break that, like that. It's like that relationship that I had with the gym, and it's the same thing with triathlon. I had a bad relationship with triathlon that I had to turn into a good relationship by actually applying myself to the training and finding a training partner that's faster and better than me.
Do you think if you didn't have each other as a training partner, because it isn't a luxury for everybody, not everybody lives in a large enough community, for example, where there would be other people who want to do this with them, or who knows, any number of things. If you couldn't train with each other, do you think, I don't know, how do you think this would all look? Or what would you do?
To be very transparent, I don't know if I would have ever done a triathlon because I'm a person of excess. Everything
as a lot of triathletes are.
And
fits right in.
To me, the thought of just running was kind of boring to me. But then thinking of triathlon, it was intimidating. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I would have ever done a triathlon had I not met Lauren, if I'm being absolutely transparent. I don't know. I would have loved to, but I don't know if I would have had the confidence to go out and do that on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess even if you don't have someone automatically in your life already there who would be able to join you, there are certainly ways to find training partners who would start as strangers but at your same level. I mean, there's running groups, there's cycling groups, there are triathlon clubs, just find.
Well, how did you get into it with your?
I was in a volunteer organization. I used to work with Team Red, White, and Blue, which is a veterans volunteer organization. So I met a lot of people. At the time, I was a CrossFit person. All I did was CrossFit, and I ran, and I didn't have any experience in doing triathlon. And then one day this group was like, "Hey, do you want to do this triathlon with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds horrible. Sure. Like, let's do it." And that's literally how it began for me, because I met people that I enjoyed spending time with. And then I was like, "Oh, well, what are they into?" And I'm also like, I have hyperfixation on new hobbies, and triathlon is it's just so fun to get all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's an overwhelming amount of things. So
there's just so much stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just great. And
half of it you don't even need.
And half of it you don't even need. But I agree with him. Like, I don't know if I ever would have. I definitely wouldn't have performed. I'm not going to say that I never would have done another one, but like, I was so beat down from the ones I had done previously because I just didn't know anything, and I didn't try hard enough to like learn, some of these disciplines. And again, that was just immaturity at the time, and just, kind of just, being around the people I was being around. But like, to have somebody there to help you build that confidence is important, but it's not the only thing. And you can definitely get out there and meet people in cycling groups. We love doing our group rides with, like, we have a local group here, Fat Frogs, that we do group rides with, and we always have a good time, always meet people. And the community is so supportive.
And back to your point, Kim, like, there's, even if you don't have a person or you're already in a group of that nature, there's people on Facebook.
Yeah.
There's local groups. There's even, the Motive. I think you guys have done a very good job of creating that community within the app.
Oh yeah. You can find people in your area. Oh yeah.
Yep. And there's people in there that you can team up with, and you guys can become accountable to each other.
I think that's interesting though, Lauren, that you said about the research that you, and I wouldn't even say it's immaturity, because I think there's people who are totally mature but don't know where to start. It's a complicated process, and that is something that we definitely try to do as part of our mission with Motive, is to make this all accessible by giving people the info they need to be able to start, because it is just, there's so much stuff. And I'm around it all the time, and if I thought for me to do it, suddenly I forget everything that I know, and I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know what I would do, So that, I think the research actually it sounds so simple, but just make sure you know what you're getting into. Make sure you have some. Yeah.
It's a huge part of it, I think, too, because like, I remember when we started this back when it was, Triathlon, Taren, and doing Team Trainiac, like watching the YouTube videos and being like, oh, you're supposed to push the water behind you. Okay, cool. Like literally, like, I just had no mind for swimming. Yeah. I know that for triathlon specifically, one of the things I think that really intimidates people is the swim. Oh, because they're like, I'm terrified, and I used to have panic attacks in the water. I used to freak out on every open water swim. And then it's just, you learn that like that repetition builds efficiency, and that you learn to get comfortable in the water, but it's not something that happens immediate for everybody. It wasn't immediate for me. Yeah. It may not be immediate for you when you finally do a triathlon, because I think you're going to do one. I think you're going to break, Kim. I really do.
It'll be maybe a try.
Ooh.
Well, really, because it's a short little, and that would still feel like an Ironman to me. So, it's
beautiful.
Yeah. I do have a wetsuit. I do have a Roka wetsuit, and I've used it for paddleboarding. That's why I have it since we moved out here to BC, and I wore it for the first time the other day, and boy, a wetsuit's a lot of fun. I really like wearing that thing.
The game.
It's a full body girdle, which is great for everybody. No, but so I think we're actually going paddleboarding later today, and I would like to try to take a few strokes. I swam like a fish as a kid, as most people do. And then you try to come back to it as an adult. You're like, well, I can swim. Well, that's not the same.
It's different. Yeah, I grew up in Florida, and that was my thoughts as well. I know how to swim.
I grew up in a swimming pool. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But he's like a natural. It's just really annoying how like naturally good at everything he is, except for really does struggle at running. And I love that he has a hard time running because it just is the only thing that
humbles him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep.
I gotta have one of three.
Right?
One of three.
Exactly. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but what's coming up for you? What can we expect to see with our triathlon journey? What do you guys have on the go? What goals or plans do you have set? What is coming up?
Well, this year we are talking back to like the perfection and the go. This year we're kind of taking it easy. We're going back towards the love of the sport. So we're calling this the year of the sprints.
I love it.
We're doing sprints all year. That's all we're doing, because the sprints are long enough to where you don't. You enjoy it. It's fun, and you can kind of be more lackadaisical about it. But that's what we're doing. We have a race in
July 30th. Is our next race, and I year of the sprints has been amazing because, like you said, it's just
mentally
like reinvigorated the love. Like we still are going, and we're obviously not as disciplined in the workout plan as we have been previously because it's not necessarily required. But that's one of the things that's making it enjoyable. Like, hey, we're going on a bike ride today, and we're like, yeah. We go on a bike ride. Hey, you want to go for a swim today? Yeah. And we go for a swim, and it's just so nice to build the love for it again. So that way, when next year comes and we do a full Ironman, next year, a full Ironman.
Okay.
Next year.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Full Ironman next year.
It's notional.
It's for Kevin, it's a soft maybe. For Lauren, it's a hell yeah, we're doing this.
Okay.
And I think that like this, again, just building that love for the sport and just like when you go out for a sprint, it's just fun.
It's fun.
Like it's just we had the last sprint we did, we had so much fun. So we've got about 3 races scheduled between now and September that are all short sprint races, short distances to enjoy it.
And you know why I like it? Because there is such a focus in the sport that if you're not doing the big ones, if you're not doing an Ironman or a 70.3 type distance, then it doesn't count. And a lot of people say, well, I'm only doing a sprint. I'm only doing an Olympic. There is no only.
No, you are doing a sprint.
You are doing a triathlon.
You are doing a triathlon.
Totally. And I just love that you two have done the longer distances and you're so totally comfortable with stepping back and saying, no, we're going to do shorter ones because it still counts. It's still awesome. You're still training. And that it's reinvigorating your love. I think that is so cool. That's really great.
100%. We are so happy. So happy. Although, I mean, I can't wait to do a longer race next year. I'm excited to do it.
Sure.
I'm not unhappy that it's not this year though.
Oh,
this is great.
Well, you know what? Sometimes it just takes scaling back a little to rebuild that appreciation. And I think that's amazing. Well, thank you both for spending this time with us. And we're so excited to have you as Motive Movers. I think the training team is so inspirational and can remind people of one really great way to keep themselves going, and that can be a way to keep you in it. So I think you're showing folks just by your BFF-edness and how you work together to get this all done that like it's a super good strategy. So totally love it. So glad you guys are Motive moving with us, and we'll be following you at our triathlon journey, well, forever.
Love that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for watching, Motivators. If you're looking for a training plan that incorporates these methods that is as good as a one-on-one coach but as inexpensive as doing it yourself, check out our Motive training app that covers triathlons, running races, duathlons, swim runs, and cycling events. There's a link in the description below where you can check out your customized training plan for free. Also, if you'd rather listen to these tips, we also publish these videos in podcast format on the Taren's Motive Method podcast, so you can check that out. And if you don't want to do either of those things, but you found this video helpful, hit us up with a virtual high five by smashing the like button below. Later, Motivators.